Everyone, welcome to Darien Library. I'm Amanda DeMaio, and I'm from the adult programming team, and we're happy to partner with Barrett Bookstore to welcome back the wonderful Gesine Bullock-Prado. Did I do it? Okay, good. Gesine is a best-selling author, pastry chef, and TV personality whose new cookbook, My Harvest Kitchen, which I see a lot of you holding, celebrates the beauty of seasonal cooking, imperfect homesteading, and finding joy in the kitchen. She'll be joined in conversation by actress Samantha Smith, who brings her own humor, heart, and love of good food to the mix. Before we begin, I want to take a moment to express our gratitude. Programs at Darien Library are made possible by the annual Friends of the Library campaign. Your support enables us to bring enriching programs and collections to our wonderful community just like this one. If you haven't already, I do suggest you silencing your phone before we begin. And please help me join our wonderful guests tonight.
I've known Sam for ages, so this is perfect.
That's true. We had a knitting club back in the 90s.
Yes, before it was cool.
That's right. Thank you for having me.
Oh, my
I'm
pleasure.
honored to be here. So I have many of Gesine's cookbooks, all of them, I think, actually, starting with the baking ones back in the day.
Yeah.
And they were, I'm sure many of you have them as well, and just so, I won't say easy, but so well orchestrated and explained that you felt like you could make these extravagant, beautiful cakes. And they were all very different, but all very you.
Yeah.
And through the years, I think even your last book wasn't baking, it was more, it was Vermont, right?
Yeah.
It was your Vermont cookbook. So felt like there was a theme through it. This one is still all very you, but so eclectic. Was that intentional? Was that your plan? How did it come about?
Well, the Vermont one, I obviously was diving deep mainly into maple syrup and cheese. So it was the very Vermont style of eating, which is the way I eat as well. But this one, I wanted it to reflect kind of the whole landscape of how we lived and ate, and that includes foods that aren't very typically Vermont. That doesn't mean that we can't grow them, or I can't try to grow them, or I can't try to access them in a more sustainable way, or incorporate interesting things into our life that won't be trucked from across the world. Specifically, like speaking of trucking across the world, would be grape leaves, which if you garden, you know that they grow wild and what a pain in the tush, but you can also eat them, which is fantastic. So stuffed grape leaves, so you don't have to get those really expensive jars of grape leaves that are transported from Turkey and from Greece. You can just strip those leaves from your nemesis in the backyard. It's like I always do a little ghoulish laugh as I do it as well. It's very exciting. But I think my background is German and American, and my husband, his background, he's American, but his mother is Japanese American and his dad is Latino and Native. And so I have been introduced to so many lovely dishes and some of their just favorites that I've incorporated into our everyday life. And then I started to explore just the world. The world is getting closer and closer to us, and so is the produce, but sometimes you have to grow it yourself or source it in a way that isn't the easiest. And so this book reflects on how I eat, how I want to eat, and how I grow as well. And if I can't grow it myself, what I do to make sure that I can get the stuff that I want in my belly.
Yeah, because that is part of it, right? Like finding the ingredients.
Yeah, absolutely.
Here's this one, the sour cream Spätzle?
Spätzle. Depends on where you are in Germany. Spätzle is the way. Germans say Spätzle, but a German would say Spätzle. Yeah.
Is that different from Spätzle?
No, same thing.
Same thing, just pronounced properly.
Yes.
Because there's something in here called quark. You said that is hard to find.
It
you
is.
can sub with sour cream, but in Germany they use quark.
And so it is a very light farmer's cheese. And there was a time in my life in Vermont, where Vermont Creamery actually made it, and I would think I was the reason they stopped making it. I was their only customer, so I was like, we can only sell this to one person. This is not a good business model. But you can sub sour cream. You can also, I also have a recipe for making your own farmer's cheese in there, because it's super simple, but it's also incredibly satisfying. It's a great thing to do just to feel like you're a magician. It's like alchemy, but also great to do with kids. And because it is so fresh, it isn't a very pungent cheese, so it's very eatable for anyone that's a picky eater. And I chose to pair it with something that might not be the best for a picky eater, which is stinging nettles. Because I just want to, mix it up a little. But I also wanted to introduce things that it is so fun to make things like that at home, and know that it is so easy and accessible, especially if it's very expensive. But things like stinging nettles, also like the grape leaves, are invasive weeds, but they are incredibly healthy and a wonderful part of the diet. And you can use them in soups, as long as you blanch them. Otherwise, you're going to have a little surprise. And I put them in pasta, too, because it gives it this beautiful, vibrant green and just this lovely kind of very herbaceousness and this tons of vitamins. The stuff is amazing. And you can make a compost from it, too.
I think that I have a plethora of it in my yard. And
I bet you do. You will have felt it.
Yes, yes, indeed. And I think I was saying to you before that so you have this is what I was saying, schnitzel. I was confusing that with
Spätzle.
basil.
Yeah.
That's the one, right.
S is
So,
abound.
I mean, who doesn't want this right now? I want this right now. But back to the eclectic nature of this. So you have the traditional German schnitzel.
Schnitzel. Well,
And then, but one page before that, you've got this thing I also want right now, which is roast chicken with ají amarillo verde green sauce. Like, completely... I want them all.
This is my craving. So in the summertime, I have a craving for this specific chicken. And the way the recipe came about is I was in New York, and it's a Peruvian chicken with a green sauce. And I had this craving for it. My friend was like, fine, we'll go get it. And there wasn't enough green sauce. And then I had to do a deep dive into what it was. And it's a lot of cilantro, which makes it green, which is, can be controversial. But the spice in it is an ají pepper, which is orange. And the color is completely subsumed by all the green that you put in there. It's this beautiful and very just delicate and beautiful pepper. And I thought, okay, you can buy the paste online. And I have bought it. It's easy to get. You can make beautiful sauces. But of course, what did I say to myself? I got to grow it. And so it was, by that time, winter, and I got myself a hydroponic thing that sat on the...
Of course you did.
And I got the pepper seeds, and I found the right pepper seeds. I'm like, this is so exciting. And I put them in. Months later, they start to fruit. And I'm like, this is so fantastic. Because I had my little paintbrush, and I was pollinating myself. And I was like, well, they're supposed to be orange and long. Why do they look like red hats? And I'm like, be patient. I've waited all these months. It's all of a sudden going to transform and start elongating. It kept looking more and more like a hat. It started green, first a green hat, then a red hat. I'm like, okay, I really think this is not the pepper I had intended. And I called a company, and they said, whoopsie, that sounds like a red hat pepper. I'm like, indeed, I think that's what it is. I would have to agree. Well named. And it turns out I just became a part of, so this is kind of the Real Housewives of gardeners. I became a part of Peppergate, where a lot of people who grew peppers, because all the seeds pretty much look the same, were getting mislabeled packets of peppers. And you have to wait a really long time to know that you have been boondoggled. A really long time. And so a lot of people were getting banana peppers when they had intended to get habanero or something, other things.
Oh, no.
But that length of time that it takes to know that you have the wool has been pulled over your eyes is actually quite funny. But it was very frustrating. I didn't get my pepper. Now I'm growing it again.
You were so happy, and then it was like
I got a red hat.
Pepper.
It was a delicious, hot, wonderful pepper. It wasn't the right pepper for that sauce.
Right.
Yeah.
But now you're starting the journey over.
It continues.
Hopefully. But you still don't know.
I still don't know. Stay tuned.
Could be anything.
Stay tuned for the drama.
So I've spent a lot of time in Canada, as you know, working up there. The poutine in Canada does not look like this. I can tell you right now, I've never wanted the poutine in Canada, not one time, and this I want right now, along with the chicken.
Well, that's a great thing we live so close, especially in Vermont, to Canada, and
Yes.
that, you know, we can riff off of their favorites and make them better.
It's
But
amazing.
we have cheese curds too. They're not the only ones. And specifically, I grow great potatoes, but you don't have to grow them yourself. But the secret to a great fry is to brine them first and then double fry them. It's a little bit of work, but if you're going to do it, that's the way to do it. And it's a way to make them super crispy and super flavorsome, and you will not regret it.
Noted.
Yeah. Tell you all about it.
Brine them.
Brine them.
I brine a turkey and it makes it better. So
It does, yeah.
Yeah. Do you have a favorite recipe in here?
I mean, I think it's
One of like a favorite of each chapter?
not really. It's like
No.
picking your babies. I think it
Yes.
is so seasonally based that it really depends on the season. So you're right on the tomato sandwich.
I was like, I
Look,
love this. I love this.
And that is a testament
Tomato sandwich.
to my Aunt Sis of the American side, Alabama specifically, but she lived in Florida at the time. And when we were just with my mom, she was incredibly healthy. We were vegan, brown rice and tofu. It was just, my stomach was never quite right as a child. I was like, oh, give me something with a little more, I want orange cheese. It'll help me.
The kind that comes wrapped in plastic.
Yeah, I mean, it will soothe me. But my Aunt Sis, she was famous for making homemade candy and cookies, and so we were staying with her in Florida, and she said, can I make you a sandwich? And I'm like, heck yeah, you can make me a sandwich. And I was anticipating my orange cheese, some processed meat food that would be on it, and just all kinds of condiments. But what she gave me was a beautiful white bread, which I loved, the squishy stuff, and this ruby red tomato and just a little bit of mayo. And I was I was gutted. I was gutted because I recognized a piece of produce that would have been in my mother's kitchen. And I thought that was so unfair. I mean, please, some iceberg lettuce. She would never have dealt with iceberg lettuce. Like, give me something that is like illegal in the household. But when I took a bite, all of a sudden, all my qualms were gone. It was one of the most delicious sandwiches I'd ever had because it was the ripest of ripe, fresh tomatoes. It had the perfect amount of Duke's mayonnaise. She had seasoned the tomato, and it was the perfect kind of bread. Yeah.
Siri had wanted to ask a question.
It happened. It happened.
It was Waze. Oh.
Waze was telling you.
He said, thank you, I'm already there.
It wanted you to get a good tomato.
And it wouldn't,
Oh, Duke's
Yeah.
mayonnaise. Yeah,
you have it shipped up to you, don't you?
I do.
Yeah.
Some of the places now, and I'm going to give myself credit, some of the local places are now carrying Duke's. I think I've complained in it. Yeah, I think we did it. I think we made them carry it. And
Right.
and the reason it's so good is they only use yolks.
Oh,
Yeah. See? No sugar, yolks, beautiful, so good.
my husband's birthday soon. He's from Texas. I think I'll get him a crate for his birthday.
Yeah,
Have it
they
shipped
have
over.
like the 5-pound vats of it. So.
Oh my God. Well, it wouldn't be a Gesine cookbook without amazing desserts.
Yeah.
And having paid you this apple crumble tart, and you just, because why not? Let's also make brown butter butterscotch ice cream from scratch. I mean,
But
come
why
on.
not?
Come
Why
on.
not?
But you can do it.
You
Like,
can.
Your directions are so easy to follow, and you feel like a rock star when you're like, oh, look what I did.
Yeah. And the ice cream too is that you would think butter that it would kind of solidify as you're kind of churning it, because as it gets cold it can, but it won't, and it's delicious, and it infuses it with flavor. And oftentimes with vanilla, if you do a Philadelphia style ice cream, if you know what that is, it doesn't have the base of a creme anglaise, which would be like the richer stuff. And usually you want to go with something leaner so that you actually don't hide the flavor of vanilla. But when you do things like add more fat like butter, and then you brown it and you get those nutty flavors, and then you use brown sugar, you're just elevating all the kind of the nutty and caramelly notes in the ice cream, where having it that chilled doesn't numb that flavor, and it's really lovely. And it's great with apple.
I'm really
And it's also the
excited.
law in Vermont. You have to serve apple pie with ice cream. It is. It's
a
legislation. There's legislation, either Vermont ice cream or Vermont cheese.
I was going to say, because some people put cheddar cheese on apple pie, right?
It's a fabulous thing.
Yeah.
It's really good.
Yeah, that wouldn't make me angry.
No, it's so good.
Do we want to see if anyone has some questions?
Yes. Does anybody have questions? Yes. Surprise! It's like you switched my babies at the hospital. What happened? Oh my gosh, look at that. Well, it's kind of part and parcel to me. Also, based on what, like, I know, see, this is the good stuff. So the great thing is that in writing this book, oftentimes you do things kind of in like these disparate patches. This one I got to write as I was living, because there's some things that you just simply cannot get at different, like I couldn't get morels, fiddleheads, ramps, unless it was springtime. I mean, I couldn't just go onto the Amazon and say, ship me some ramps. And there's something magical about that. And so the kind of the schedule, the seasons force you into just getting out of your own head and saying, you are allowed to take a little break now and discover the wonder that is growing, because it's such a shame when you don't get to enjoy it. And it's like we spend so much time in front of screens and, like, you know, doing things that kind of disconnect us from touching grass. But the fact that these things are growing and they're there for you and they're like, just taste me, I'm so delicious, and I'm literally ephemeral. It is such a great motivator to go out and explore and get those things in my belly. Writing the book is another great thing. It's like, I have to. I am due to finish this, and so must do all the things. And it was incredibly fun. And it was such a good motivator to grow interesting things, or things that I usually wouldn't have grown. And one of the things that was a wonderful journey for me, I've always grown onions. I love allium. I love garlic. I love leeks. But there was a specific onion that I decided to grow because I was thinking about my dad, who was not the easiest guy in the world. And especially when you went to a restaurant and he didn't like something, he would tell you. But he always had French onion soup, and you could smell oftentimes the acrid burnt across the table. And I'm like, that must taste terrible, and why isn't he complaining? Because I'm complaining smelling it. And he was the kind of person that usually would have. And so in talking with him and kind of thinking about it, I realized he was 18 years old, right out of high school in Alabama, and was shipped to Normandy. And so he landed in Normandy as a child. And he found a love of French food there. And he was served, clearly, because it's not something that was in fancy restaurants or anything. It was pretty much a peasant food, and something that, and I imagine there's this family that only had a few meager things left, made this soup and shared it with this young man. And it affected him for the rest of his life. And I was like, that was such a meaningful experience for him that soup carried over to 93 years, that he was willing to forgive just for that memory that was so divine the first time. So my job was, I want to taste that soup for my dad. And so I did some research, and I realized I had to grow a very specific onion that grows in Brittany, and that if you are a grower and you grow onions, oftentimes you can buy sets. So in the springtime, they look like little green onions. They really are. And then you plant those, and then you get the big ones in the summer. So I had to start from seed, but I had to find the seed. And I found the seed in Oregon, and it's called a Rose de Roscoff onion, de Caraval. And it grows in Brittany, and we're at the same latitude. So I was like, I'm good. I can do this. But it's kind of like the pepper. It's like, you got to wait.
I was wondering. I was like,
Yeah,
did you get the right one?
I got the right one. And I planted the seeds on his birthday, early February, and I harvested them on my sister's birthday, late July. And then I had to cure them for a few weeks more before I was ready to use them. And I was finally ready to make the soup. And I was like, Dad, I get it. I totally got it. But the whole experience of growing the onion, thinking about how, like, the work that went into growing it for people who were under such duress, and then sharing it with someone, what a treasure. And so, of course, he loved that soup. But it was so nice to make the one that really made all the difference. And that was so magical. And growing that it's a very magical thing to grow onions. And they are truly, truly good. But I also have a little hack in there that if you're not going to sit there, wait for months to make your soup, I have a way to gather the onions in your grocery store in the right mix so that you get a comparable flavor.
Wow. So
Yeah.
the particular flavor of this French onion can be sort of imitated by getting like the right yellow or sweet
Correct.
or green.
It's a trio of onions.
Wow.
Yeah. That onion packs a lot of goodness in its little body.
Can you buy that special French onion at like a specialty, like not Whole Foods per se,
I have
but like
never seen it. No, I mean that's
Interesting.
not to say that in a very big city, in a very schmancy like a Whole Foods, that they wouldn't. But I have never ever seen it. I imagine that farmers in Oregon, if they are procuring seeds from, it's called adaptive seeds, if you're interested, that they may be growing it. But I've never seen it. And I did a lot of Googling, and I never
Yeah.
saw it. Everyone's growing, who are interested in these onions, but no one was selling them.
would never have occurred to me that I'm like, oh, there's a special onion that only grows in France.
Yeah. Well, now it grows here.
In in your yard.
Yeah.
How does one cure an onion?
So I have Metro racks, just the metal racks with the slats in them. And I have them in our lower barn. And then you hang the greens upside down. So it's the onion is sitting on the shelf essentially, and the green is hanging down. And you let them dry like that until the greens are completely dry. And then the outer skin almost becomes papery. And then that's when I braid them and hang them. They're beautiful decoration, by the way. They look really good. But that's a great way to store them together, and then you snip them as you go up. But you cure them first so that they store longer, because you're creating essentially a paper protection around them. And you do the same thing with garlic.
And is that when we buy garlic at the store, is that what, and onions, like they are dry and
They're dry.
papery?
Yeah, they've been cured. Yeah, they've all been cured. Yeah.
The
It's a
things
lot
you
of work.
learn. The things you learn.
And they look pretty when they're like, I always take pictures. They're pictures of there because I'm like, isn't that pretty? And it might only be pretty to me because I did all the work, but I think it's kind of this beautiful, just seeing them hanging there.
Yeah.
Me impatiently waiting for them to dry. Though you can't eat them. Of course, if you're going to eat them right then, of course you can. But if you want to store them, you do have to be patient about it.
Does the flavor change?
Well, it will, in that the sugars will get more concentrated.
Okay. Excellent.
Did you plant the garden with a cookbook in mind?
No. Yes and no. I did my usuals, and I always have a plan that usually goes awry in some way. But there were the onions I'd always wanted to do, and then I was like, oh, this is lovely. And as I was going through the journey, I was like, oh, I really want to write about this because it's really meaningful to me. So that was it. There were a lot of essays in there that, I mean, food is so meaningful, obviously, but being able to create it and grow it and finding like the depth of flavor that can truly create memory was such a special thing, because we all know you go to a grocery store, like the tomato that I had at my Aunt Sis's is not something that I can usually get at a grocery store anymore. I can get it at a farmer's market, I can grow it, but
Was it like an heirloom or a beefsteak?
It was like an heirloom. I think it was a really juicy, very fresh beefsteak tomato that had all the flavor that a tomato should have and all the sweetness. So that's why I liked it so much. But it is so hard to find that now, unless it's like truly in season, you're at a farmer's market, or you have a really good grocery store that stocks those tomatoes. And they also have to, I mean, being a farmer is a tough gig. You have to harvest all those things before full ripeness so that you can get them to the grocery store, so they can sit on the shelf, so they will have a life there and not immediately go bad. So when you get the freshest of the fresh from the vine, that is otherworldly.
Different
Absolutely.
experience.
Yeah, it's a totally different experience.
We talk about that I remember, and some of it you don't know because you were a child, and everything seemed a certain way, but like peaches don't taste the same. That
Mine
they did
do.
when I was, yeah, I bet yours do. But so they're either too hard,
Yeah.
or they're great, mealy.
Yeah.
Like unless you get them from the farmer's market and they picked them the day before. I'm like, I don't remember that being the issue. I remember going to like the cheap grocery store where we shopped and
Yeah.
getting really good peaches. Maybe we picked. I don't know. That's just is what I remember.
Maybe they picked them a little earlier.
Maybe they did.
Yeah.
I don't know. But yes, so finding that tomato is like a scavenger hunt
It
at
is.
this point.
Well, anything, we were talking about the spätzle, any kind of spätzle recipe. So I've got the Käse spätzle with this cheese spätzle, which you top with crispy onions, is just, it's controversial. I like it better than mac and cheese. And then a really good schnitzel. And the way you properly make a schnitzel is that you, and I talk about this in the book, it isn't a chicken cutlet or a pork or a veal cutlet. It is souffled. And an Austrian will, it's a very specific technique of making the breading literally lift off the chicken or whatever the meat is, so that it almost becomes this ethereal cloud above it and it isn't sticking to the meat. And the way you fry it and the way you prepare it beforehand makes all that magic happen. And doing it properly when you see it happen in your kitchen is like magnificent. You're like, this is a pretty, you got to take a picture. Goes on Instagram.
Video.
It's a beautiful thing. But it's also, the chicken is more delicious, or whatever meat you're preparing is more delicious. And the beauty of it, alongside some cucumber salad, which is my other favorite thing, I loved as a child, strangely, and the spätzle, that to me is the perfect meal. Those three things together would be, if I could eat that every day, I would, because that's truly some of my best childhood memories, but also just my, now as an adult, one of my favorite meals. It like hits all the spots.
That's what this book was making me feel as I was looking through it. Like, it's every page is a different kind of comfort.
Yeah.
Like but I mean, look at these lamb chops and and also your little things that you like, the foraging, and I see pictures of you like going through the woods to get in your bag of mushrooms, and
Yeah.
like you literally do that. You don't just go forage at the grocery store. You are like tromping through the woods for the ramps and the mushrooms and the.
Yeah.
Do you have truffles?
No, we don't. I wish we did. I have researched how to inoculate, and you cannot. And I've talked to my dogs about maybe finding them, but
they just said no, thank you.
They said no, thank you. Yeah, I think foraging is so fun, and we're lucky enough that morels grow on our property. And sometimes they pop up in areas like right outside the chicken coop, and you're like, why are you here? And it's so exciting to see them, but then usually you have to go trek into the woods to find them. And always wear tick spray.
Yes.
Always do your tick check. But yes, it's that is magical. To me, it's a little like gambling. It's like when you hit the jackpot, you're like, ding, and you can't stop. You're like, I'm addicted.
So we moved to Connecticut about 3 years ago, and we have lovely neighbors all around. But on one side, Luke, we got there the first year, and he's like, I got to show you something. Where our properties join. He's like, come here. And he's like, told me to come back into the woods. I'm like,
Uh-oh.
I was like, I might die, because I didn't know him yet. And he's like, look, and there's this little patch just in the corner back by the stream where our properties join. And he's like, ramps.
That's magic.
I'm like, what's a ramp? And now I know.
I know.
But it's this 2-week window.
It is.
It's like just this moment.
And
But I was like, I feel like Gesine. I'm
Yeah.
in the woods collecting food that I can eat.
And that's why it's such a beautiful name. They're called ephemerals because they are so ephemeral. And they are found in glades and beautiful places with dappled light. It's before the trees fully fill. So it is, you feel that you're in there in the quietness, you're kind of celebrating life coming back, and then it just presents itself. And it's truly magical. I mean, a walk in the woods always is, but when you can find something to eat, even better. I mean, so much better.
And then suddenly I feel like I'm the the mom from 1784, and I'm like, I'm just gathering for the winter. I love it. I don't get to do that enough. But
Yeah. But
just
it
going
is
out
when
and
you
picking
do.
a tomato from my garden, I'm like,
Well,
imagine if you could just eat it.
It's the $400 tomato. You know, it's like you're like, I'm going to save so much money and grow my own tomatoes, and then you've got to get the pot, and then you've got to get the soil, and then you've got to get all the amendments.
The deer
and those
fencing,
things.
yes.
and all the fencing. And you realize I've just spent $400 for one tomato, but it's worth it.
Yes, it's the best tomato you ever ate because you
is.
grew it yourself.
You did, and then you still have the pot next year, so
Yeah.
it'll pay for itself in 20 years.
My tomatoes re-volunteered this year.
Yes, volunteer tomatoes are a wonderful thing.
Yeah. I was
Yeah.
like, oh, here you are. Hello.
Yep.
Yep. I enjoyed that. And my kale volunteered.
Yes.
It's not supposed to regrow.
Arugula also will
Yes.
volunteer. It's
Yeah.
good stuff.
It's magic.
Free food.
This is making me so hungry.
Yes, so my baking school is Sugar Glider Kitchen, and so it's not a cooking school, it's a baking school, and I've been teaching for over 20 years, and I started at King Arthur Flour, and it became a thing where my husband actually had never seen me teach, and I was teaching at Stonewall Kitchen in Maine when they still had that facility open, and I'm sure he was eating a croissant or something in the cafe. So he came to check on me because it was towards the end of class, but I was still teaching. And he was kind of in the back of the room, and I caught his eye, and he had this weirdest expression on his face. I'm like, oh, that's interesting. And so when the class ended and we were wrapping it up, we got in the car. He goes, you have to do this all the time. And I was like, what? He goes, you are really good at this. I'm like, yeah, I know. I've been telling you. You just haven't been paying attention. And so he really pushed me to expand the area in the carriage house. We live in an old tavern that's attached to the house, and create a baking school. And I had plenty of students who were asking me to teach more. And so it's become such a beautiful experience. I am meant to be a teacher. It brings me so much joy. And in that one space, people make lifelong friendships, and bakers are the best. They really are. Such a great community. And it's such a communal space, and I make it so that when you walk in, you don't feel as if you are beholden to anyone or anything. You can dirty dishes and you don't have to clean them. You can make mistakes and not berate yourself. And if you do, that's when I get mad. It's like, I'm not a mean teacher unless you're mean to yourself, and I'm having none of that. And it's about being gentle with yourself, learning something, and giving something back to yourself. And I don't have kids, but I feel like I'm a mother to middle-aged people my own age who have given so much of their lives. And I'm like, this is for you. Take this time for yourself and give yourself some grace and have fun, and let my husband clean the dishes when you're done. So for me, it's the greatest joy.
It's a stunning space, the
Thank
kitchen, the teaching space.
Yeah.
I mean, your whole house, I'm crazy about it.
Yeah.
But it's a natural part of it.
Yeah, it is. And sometimes the
And she's
chickens
got
come
some
around and they say
amazing
hi.
ovens. They're like as tall as a person and huge, and
Yeah.
it's very cool.
And they clean themselves.
Like magic. It's magic.
Yeah, it's magic.
It's magic. And then the stuff that comes out of the kitchen
It's the best.
I know.
So weak acids help to relax the gluten strands. So it's called extensibility. And so it helps it relax and for rolling out. It also helps with oxidation. So if you're going to keep the pie dough in the fridge for a few days, if you've ever seen a dough get brown, it will stop the oxidation and keep it like fresher longer. But weak acids like vinegar and lemon juice, never use citric acid, but they help with something called extensibility, which allows you to work the dough with more ease. It's slight. There are other kinds of additives that professional bakers use that give a lot of extensibility. Things like deactivated yeast and L-cysteine that like really give it like, they just get really like stretchy. But for a home baker where you don't want that much, that weak acid will be just enough. And it's different than adding, if you've ever seen people add vodka to the liquid. And that's a totally different thing. It's because vodka is a liquid binder that doesn't produce as much gluten because it has alcohol, not as much water, and it's water that produces gluten. So you can do that too. So you can do the lemon juice and the vodka and also have a cocktail. It all works out. It all works out.
And then you can drink and snack on the rest.
It's always nice to have a little cocktail as you're doing your baking. I think you have to look, when you're using a one-to-one, you have to look at recipes where they are naturally tender in nature and not structured. So by structured, I mean like hearty breads are so dependent on gluten that thinking that they shouldn't call it flour, that meal is going to create the structure that you need, and that's just going to disappoint you. But if you look at things like quick breads, like anything from like a carrot cake to like really tender cakes, muffins, usually it's a great one-to-one swap because They are very tender, and they have other binders that will hold it all together and don't need as much structure. I think more and more people are doing interesting things with things like psyllium husk to create a gel structure for breads, and you just have to get the formula right so that it doesn't taste like you're in a fiber bath. But you know, in the future, I'm sure they will perfect it without creating too much of a chemical mix that can, you know, create other problems in your gut. But yeah, it's a big bummer, the whole gluten thing, because we are so dependent on it for our baked goods. But for things that are really tender, you can always do a one-to-one swap. And I gotta say, King Arthur did such a nice job with also with their website giving you so many recipes to use their products. So it's not just like, here is the thing and have fun. They actually give you support, and they've developed it with a lot of recipes in mind. So their website has a ton of recipes where you can use, even if it's not their one-to-one flour, you can use another one-to-one flour in those recipes, and they're pretty great. So fat is the Spanx of flour. And if you put fats into the mix too soon, you're not going to create enough gluten. And since it acts like a one dump in that everything goes in and it's a quick mix, so you're not doing a lot of legwork on the mixer necessarily, you want to make sure that you get gluten development before you coat the flour in fat. Always remember, fats are the Spanx of flour. Yeah, and it's one of those things that there's a method to the madness. But thank you for asking.
Amazing.
Every cookbook is different. That's kind of obvious. My baking books making those are very different than making these. Though I always have like essay components, but for me, it's always, I have formulas all arranged in my head with the baking. So in baking, it's all very structured. And then knowing the formulas and baker's math and how things will interact with each other, that is my foundation, and then you get to play. And so that's usually depending on what the topic of the book is. If it's baking, I will know exactly where I want to go and play, and then start structuring the book depending on what the subject is. So I had a book where it was, I wanted to present the very traditional recipe, then a healthier version, a gluten-free version, and a vegan version. So it was kind of, this is the template recipe, and this is how I break it down into and this was like years ago. So that one was different in that I wanted to take kind of archetypal recipes so that you would understand, as I moved from like quick breads to different kinds of recipes, how things were shifting depending on how you were changing them for the specific method, whether it was gluten-free or vegan or whatever. And so in that, I just really had to structure it as far as what would be most meaningful for people, and then how could they themselves play based on the knowledge that they've gained from those kind of archetypal recipes. And then books like My Vermont Table, the publisher came to me, and my show, Baked in Vermont, there were a lot of people were asking for more of how I actually cooked and not just baked at home. And so that's where that book came from, in that and also because it's so Vermont forward, it was really fun just to play with the things that are just so close to me, and the farmers that I love, and the things that I eat every day, like cheese and maple syrup. And in that way, I went with the 6 seasons of Vermont, and I got to structure my writing life through that. So it's like I said before, I had to be very strict about when and how I was writing and developing, because the seasons dictated what was before me. And with this one, I was allowed to use the things I love most, like growing, to kind of guide me through this book. And then I am left alone to write until I'm done, and then I turn in the book. And for the last 2 books, I've been doing them with my husband, the photographer. He's an artist in the fine arts, but I have roped him into taking the pictures. And the way that makes life easier is that traditionally when you're writing a cookbook, you are left alone to write the book, and then you've got a week, maybe 2 if you're really lucky, to have a photographer come and take all the pictures. And so you're one and done. You have no opportunity to, no mulligans often. And so what you see is what you get, like it's sometimes the regret is very real.
Did you just say you write the whole book and then you have a week to do all the
Yeah,
pictures? So you
that's
would have
usually
to
how-
cook all these things in
Correct.
a week. That
Yes.
doesn't sound like any fun at all.
No, it's terrible. It is a terrible way to do things, and it's like
Yes,
it's
there's no
very
love
stressful.
in it. It's like it's
Yes, it's drudgery. I'm someone who does it all by myself. A lot of people will hire food people to like hire a studio, and then they have the photographer there. They have a food stylist, a cook who's doing the stuff, and you've got this whole team. I'm too German, and I'm like, no, I must do it myself. Doing it the traditional way was much harder. Now I have Ray at my beck and call. And so we were able to take the pictures as we were making the book. And it made it so much more joyful, and it made it really a lot more fun. And it really reflects our sensibilities. And also everything that's in the book that you see is actually something that we eat on or with. My other thing was oftentimes you have somebody who comes in. That dish. I got that at Woody's in Woodstock. I wanted it to reflect authentically how we ate. And I often find that things get too styled, and you're like so put back by like everything is just so styled. And I was like, the food should be the star, and it also should look like we're about to sit down and eat. And that's actually how it works. Ray, come down, take a picture. Now we're going to eat. And that I cannot tell you what a boon that is to someone who does what we do, and that it's like, it's a one-stop shop, but it also makes kind of the rhythm of doing it so much more natural, and I think more impactful, because you're seeing things as we wanted them, and as we just were about to eat them.
no, it's real. It's in real time, and it's the real
in real
thing,
time.
and you actually ate this. It
Yes.
wasn't just some chef you've never met who decided that this is how it should be presented.
That's how it should look.
Yeah.
Having the kitchen redone was harder. Luckily, I have a baking school, so I have so much equipment to fall back on. So it's not as if we were without cooking equipment. I'm so happy to tell you.
French top?
Yeah, it's a porcelain quartz composite that looks like soapstone, and underneath it is the induction element. So you have a countertop that with a secret cooking element. And so for me as a baker, as much space as I can get to roll dough, I will take it, and just be able to have space for prep makes me happy. But there was always a fear. I love induction, but with it hidden, I always had the fear that is this going to be more gimmick than it is practical? And I'm happy to say it is the best cooktop I've ever had, bar none.
And is it burners, or is it that thing where it's hottest in the middle and goes cooler towards the edges?
No, it is. It's kind of arranged like a traditional 5-burner, and so you can actually get stickers, so because it's hidden. So some people will put stickers on there, and some people will actually have little things implanted in the stone. The thing about induction is that when you turn it on, unless there's a pot on there, it doesn't get hot.
Right.
And then the surface itself, you're conducting the heat into the pot, not onto the surface, even though it does get warm.
Amazing.
So from a safety perspective, it's really amazing. But also the heat transfer is really quick. So if you think you're not going to get it hot enough to sear a steak, it gets hot enough to sear a steak.
And is that when you have to use the special, is it the what's it called?
It's induction ready cookware is what you need.
Okay, so it's special.
Yes, but most cookware now is induction ready. And when it comes to cooking technology, I always say if you can get it or source the equipment that you need for it at a Home Goods, you're at a place where it's accessible and it's not going to be too expensive. And at Home Goods now, most things are induction ready.
So cool. I had when we were redoing our kitchen, I got one little induction hot plate.
Yeah, it's nice.
And I think it did I think I had to get a ceramic pan for it. Can you
It
do
does-
stainless
it can-
steel?
Yeah, stainless steel is what the most common is.
Okay.
You can also use, I use all my cast iron on it. Yeah, it's great. It's fantastic.
Awesome.
Yes, anything you put a magnet
Oh,
on,
okay.
it will work with. Yeah, there's no breaks in it. So it's literally underneath it. So it's one whole slab without any breaks. And it was placed on top of the induction is literally under it. And it's conducted through the stone. No, so what they also give you are little pads just in case. So you don't have to use them for it to work, but in order, like, and those kinds of countertops are incredible. People cut on them, which kind of freaks me out. So they're really durable, but they do give you something that's almost like a little plastic round. So when somebody's house sitting, I leave those out so that they're not, because it's terribly confusing if you don't know where the burners are. You're like, what's happening? So I leave them out there. But you get used to, like, if you have veining on your cooktop, you get used to exactly where it goes. And you're like, how do you know you're magical? I'm like, yes, I'm very magical. But I just have gotten used to where the little burners are.
It's on your YouTube.
It's on YouTube, and you can watch the magic of it all.
So cool.
It's very fun. Well, some of them are like Spätzle is one, like those kinds of recipes. The fun thing too is that when you have an opportunity to revisit something, you can think, oh, what is a way that I can perfect it or just make it? I always think of a process that someone will be approaching, not me. And I'm like, how to make this just as good, maybe more accessible. And so recipes, I'll tweak them. Not that they're any better or worse. I just want them to just read a little more easily. I feel like the writing of these things is so important, including the headers, because I know we've all been on the internet and go, just get to the recipe. Just stop talking. And I feel like that's the algorithm. I think that you have to have all these words in there for like the Google machine to get there. But for a cookbook, I think it's important to explain that if there's a recipe there, you have to know why this person is telling you about this recipe. Why am I the one to give you this recipe? And to me, it's important to tell you the story behind it, my knowledge behind it, my passion about it. Otherwise, I feel like, why you? How dare you? And then there's some things that, for instance, there is a ramp and spinach dish that my husband loves cream spinach, and I love to make it for him. But then I was like, but they're also ramps, and that's going to punch it up a little. And there's the season where garlic is just starting to go to germ, where the green is starting to come through, and it makes the actual flesh of the garlic bitter. The germ isn't bitter, but the flesh is. Yes, that's it. And so, but you want some garlicky punch that is natural and beautiful, and that's when ramps are like, I'm here, take me. And those kind of fulfill that duty. So I created this recipe for when we were having, he wanted cream spinach in the springtime, but the garlic had gone to germ. And I was like, this is how I will do that. So yeah, and then also the stuffed grape leaves are a very traditional recipe, but with scavenging for grape leaves outside. And I'm always delighted when something is seemingly very far from us and foreign from New England, but there is something that's growing here everywhere on top of everything. And it's like the most secret ingredient is something that's literally outside your door that you can get for free. And I find that so delightful. And the rest kind of falls into place. The rest isn't as hard to source than the thing that is usually hardest, but tends to be a weed in our area. And I'm like, I must make recipe so that we can all delight in the fact that we get to strip those weeds from our yards and eat them.
That's the thing, right? It's who decided it was a weed? It really likes to grow here.
It really loves to grow. Well, I have the story about Vinland. It's like, the Vikings, that's what they called this area because they were wild grapevines everywhere. We were Vinland. In the spring, the nettles here still sting, just a little, but blanching them takes that away. And nettle soup is glorious. It is so healthy, but it's also so bright, and you're waking up like it's like spring. It's this wonderful flavor that is like, I find so many of the ephemerals and things like nettle that when they are really edible, they shouldn't, you feel like it's springtime, they should be very gentle. They shouldn't have so much punch. But I feel like they're like they've been waiting. They're like, we've had a long winter, we're gonna sock you in the noggin. They're like so wonderfully powerful and delicious. And it's like, it's waking you up for the season, which is so exciting. But the other thing about nettle is that as it gets older, it's not as edible, right? But it can be used in compost. So nettle compost is one of the most nutrient-rich free composts that you can use for really heavy feeders in the garden. And so I take it, right at the bottom, put it in a big vat of water, and then you stir it, and it's ready to go when it gets stinky. And then you just drain off the water, and it's beautiful for the garden, for things that are very heavy feeders, and it's very nitrogen-rich. It's great, and it's free. Just wear gloves. Oh, Lordy, yes. So my Vermont table, I almost every recipe has maple in it. A lot of them have maple in here because we sugar. We sugar every year. So we have our own grove that's part of the farm and life.
You even put maple in your coffee.
I put maple in the coffee. My feeling about maple is it is the perfect sweetener for for anything, but especially savory recipes that call for like just a hint of more sweetness, because in that case, it's a seasoning. And because it dissolves instantaneously, because it is natural, because it has a bit of caramel and buttery notes, it is the most beautiful thing to add, say like to a tomato sauce when you got those really anemic tomatoes and you need that. Maple is the way to go. It's just the most beautiful addition to things. And I can just eat it by the spoonful. But aside from that, I think it is one of the most magical things. And there's really nothing better than a maple creamy, ever.
After we visited you last time, Corey started using maple in even like the mixed drinks and stuff.
Yes. Oh, great mixed drinks. Mm-hmm. Yes. It happens all the time. That makes me so happy. I mean, that I get to do it is the best thing ever. So thank you. The trick.
Should we all sign up?
The trick is there really is no trick. So when I send out an email, and then that usually breaks the site down, and so they sell out, as you know, like in 5-10 minutes. So what happens is that people tend to book right away in a panic, not checking their calendars, including a bride who was getting married the weekend she booked a class. It did happen. And so if you kind of sit back and you go, I'm not going to get a part of this scrum, I'm going to wait. If you keep checking the schedule, you'll start seeing the cancellations trickle in. So it's life happening. It's also people who didn't consult their schedules. That always happens. And it's a less panic-inducing way to book the class. So that's the trick. And I will be posting February classes soon. I will not have any March classes because I'll be at the Bread Bakers Guild in Germany all March.
Which is amazing.
I'm going to my happy place.
Yeah. I think we're going to bake bread and learn things for a month.
Yes.
Oh,
I'm very excited. Thank you all so
Perfect.
much.
Thank you. I'm going to ask you 3 questions.
Yes, please.
And you have to, they're going to be,
Yeah.
pop off your head. Favorite cheese?
Cheddar,
Favorite spice that you think is like the underdog of the spice cabinet?
sumac,
And favorite Halloween candy? You could do a fruity one and a chocolate one if you want. If there's
my answer to you is no, I don't. I can choose them all.
Okay, there we go.
will take.
I'm an adult woman. I can have them all.
I will take the big party pack, and I will start. So if I'm thinking about the big party pack where I start first, I start with, I like Snickers a lot, and I also like Reese's. So, but then I'll still travel and eat the rest of them, but those are like where I'll start. And then I'll probably end, I don't know what I'll end with. I usually let Ray have I like Kit Kats, but I let Ray have the Kit Kats.
what would you leave behind?
Nothing gets left behind.
Even candy corn?
I won't eat an excessive amount of candy corn because that gives me a headache. I think we all know the sickness that is overabundance of candy corn, but I do enjoy a few.
All right.
And then there's a point where that waxiness gets to me.
You can make like a mouth guard out of it.
I know you can. You can.
Thank you so much.
Thank you
Give
very
everyone give a
much.
warm round of applause.